Hello, boys and girls and demons of all ages. This is your chronically depressed host, National Communism 666. And I'm gonna upload that video. Actually, I'm gonna re-upload it because a while ago I actually sat here for 9 minutes 48 seconds, and then YouTube fucked up on me and said it wouldn't connect. So if you don't like the fucking video, I'm sorry. There's a lot of shit I gotta remember. I can't really do it. Maybe it'll make it better. I doubt it because I did think about it since then. I've added new dimensions to what I was gonna say. Points I could have made, but this is it basically. And if you don't like it, blame YouTube, not me. But yeah, basically, this is going to be a video on WWE and on Vince McMahon and how Vince McMahon is no longer a billionaire because the stock market basically turned on the stock market. He lost a whole bunch of fucking money. His stock collapsed. Why? He wanted to sell so many networks. In an economically depressed economy, a depression economy with people out of work, I wonder why he couldn't sell it. But anyways, he promised a certain number. Not only did he not hit that number, they actually turns out he probably needed to hit a higher number of people than what he thought he needed to hit, and he didn't even get close to it. He didn't even hit what he wanted to hit. So now he's lost millions of fucking dollars. This is a video on what could help WWE and what could help wrestling and why wrestling can't hit a new boom period, just like it did in the late 90s. And what's wrong with the country in general is a bunch of fucking Vince McMahons. And now there might be legal action. Stephanie McMahon supposedly was going to actually sold a bunch of stocks a while back, so it's possible that she was trying to get out. And it's the same thing that happened to Martha Stewart. She could be looking at prison time. So, and this is basically on what's wrong with wrestling, why people aren't buying the shit, why it's dying, and why we're in the dog years of wrestling, and what could actually turn the shit around. And it's also on people who think that wrestling needs to go the direction of UFC. So to start with that, Paul Heyman, who's the guy I respect, who I like, actually got this wrong too. And he said this. He was one of the leaders of this kind of thinking, where he said wrestling needed to go in the direction of UFC. Well, TNA actually did that, and they threw Russo out on his ass. And because they were having a little bit of a down period, and they started Wrestling Matters. Like, we need to know Wrestling Matters. When we're watching a wrestling program, you have to put wrestling in the name of the show. Now they call it Impact Wrestling when it's TNA. Because we're too stupid to know we're watching wrestling. It's as if though they think we fell asleep next to a fucking nuclear power plant and our brain turned to mush, and now we're just mindless zombies watching this shit. But they started Impact Wrestling, and they started Wrestling Matters, and the basic concept of Wrestling Matters was a renewed focus on matches and bringing in of UFC wrestlers. So it's more like a sport. So the people, and WWE did that, but I'll get to that in a minute. So they did that, and between the time in mid-2011 they threw Russo out and started this shit with Pritchard's writing it, to about late 2013, in between those two periods of time, they lost 80-some thousand fucking viewers who didn't want to tune in and see this shit anymore. Because I told them, and I don't know if I predicted it. I can't claim I predicted it because I don't remember. I think I did this after they fucked up with their damn crap, but I knew, that the wrestling fans, this is what I said, don't want to watch that. The majority of them are weirdos like I am, whether you like us or not. That's what they are. And they like comic books, video games, all kinds of odd shit. We don't watch sports. We're not football fans. We're not fucking UFC fans. We don't give a fuck about that. I can't help if you don't like that. That's your fan base. It's the reality. And we're not going to tune in to watch match after match after match, especially when we know it's not even real. And I don't say that as an insulting way. It's real. They get hurt. You have to be athletic. But it's scripted, and it's all planned out, and it's to be an entertainment product. And that's the one thing WWE got right. And then they abandoned that, and they went the other direction, and they lost millions of fucking dollars. But the problem WWE goes far beyond that. In making a sport isn't going to work. What WWE needs to be, well, WWE needs to be Disney, but what pro wrestling, what TNA Ring of Honor needs to be, is like Marvel comic books. They need to be Marvel to WWE's Disney. Okay, WWE threw out any hopes of attracting an adult audience in when they went PG, and when they started pushing John Cena on everyone and subbing them up our asses. And the Leprechauns and everything, they threw that out the window back in about 2006, 2007. Now TNA Ring of Honor needs to be Disney. They don't need to do these blood brawls and shit where they beat up Brad Maddox and put him in a hospital. because that's not what the people watching you want to see. That's not for children. You are a Disney product now. But what could be an adult audience, and where Ring of Honor and TNA could finally get somewhere and actually benefit from all of this, is if they became like Marvel comic books and they could share the popularity between themselves. And Ring of Honor could even become a little bit more like a sport to your Disney, you know, and they could become like a Marvel comic book to your Disney. And they could become like the NWO back in WCW in the mid-90s. That was such an ingenious idea because of the way they did it. Everything about that worked. First of all, it's the New World Order. That was Bush's speech. The New World Order. What we have is a plan far more greater than a New World Order, like Alex Jones talks about. So automatically, you're talking about something fascistic, people associate with Nazis, communists. It was so fucking perfect because it's automatically pure evil. And then you have the biggest good guy in the 80s and early 90s in WWF turn heel. He goes there as a face. It doesn't really work. They don't get too far. Then they turn the guy heel. The biggest guy in the company would be like John Cena turning heel now. He turns heel and he goes on a rampage with the Outsiders, who are also from WWE, so it's kind of like an invasion type angle at first. And it was just so fucking cool. And then the Crow Sting, like the Crow movies, it was a little bit of a rip-off of the Crow, yeah, but this consider it like a new installment. Just like they have 5 different Crow movies, this is Pro Wrestling's Crow movie. If they could get that back, and then it gave Ray to Vince Russo in the Attitude Era, and then going in the direction of the Attitude, and they're doing storylines about incest, and fucking necrophilia, and fucking blood drinking, and Satanists, and all this weird shit, and the people loved it. They tuned in like crazy to see what crazy, wild, freaky shit they're going to do next. And it went through the roof, the people watching WWF wrestling, or now they call it WWE because of a panda organization. But the point is, people loved wrestling then. It had a wrestling boom, and ECW started it all. And Paul Heyman's explanation was, and what we should do now, we had 80s metal, we went in the direction of grunge. What we should be doing, going in the direction of grunge now, and I do think that eventually will happen, is just look at the economy, and wrestling needs to keep up with it, and they need to be the dark, edgier, grittier product. UFC would be better suited for wrestling, to be more like wrestling actually. If you look at boxing in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, what was the biggest thing going? Muhammad Ali driving up a fucking bus to George Foreman's house and threatening him and trying to challenge him to a boxing match. Maybe hit real news, and his Ric Flair promos, I'm beautiful and you ugly bear, and I'm gonna float like a butterfly. And you know him better as the guy who sells grills, but I mean, yeah, that's basically was his character. I mean, he was George Foreman, he was a boxer. In the Rocky movies, that was huge. The Rocky movies, and Mike Tyson biting off a guy's ears, all over the news. They stopped doing that. They wanted to become this stuffy, conservative, black tie affair, just like fucking NFL is, and they sue someone for a nipple slip. You know, I mean, all this corny, fake Republican shit, and no one gives a fuck. And that's what WWE's done, but WWE needs to just keep with that and just become Disney. And they need just to go in the direction of a fucking cartoon and let TNA be Marvel. But UFC would be better fitted to be like wrestling than fucking wrestling with UFC, in my opinion. But you can believe what you want, and that's it. So P6666. P666, whatever.